Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we have to wear different hats. We have to be the sales guy. We have to be the accountant. We have to do everything. With a business model like syndication in multifamily, you're able to have very defined roles, and you pretty much have your own role. You do what you love, and you keep doing it because you're good at it. And that's the way you 10x your results, and you can continue to scale a lot faster. So having a team, in my opinion, is everything if you want to scale.
Everything is possible, just hustle, just hustle.
The $1 Million Hustle Podcast, where we keep it real, unstated entrepreneurship wisdom. Learn to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. Here's your host, Billy the Kid, aka Billionaire.
Everything is possible, just hustle, just hustle. Everything is possible, just hustle.
Welcome to the $1 Million Hustle Podcast, baby. It is your boy Billy the Kid, aka BDK, aka Billionaire in this mug. Excited. Such a great episode. I just got done interviewing, and I'm not going to tell you who just yet, actually. But if you are ready to take your life to the next level, guys, this podcast is the right podcast to be at. You're going to learn, obviously, how to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. But beyond that, we have a lot of uncomfortable conversations, things that you might not hear most people talk about. And when I say most people, it is focused on the 3% action takers, people that actually take action in life. And 97% of the people aren't, so this podcast is not for you. But if you are ready to take your life to the next level, then tune in, baby. Subscribe to my YouTube. Listen to it on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. The $1 Million Hustle Podcast is there, so check it out. Subscribe, follow us, do whatever you got to do to stay tuned. But we just had a powerful mastermind last night. Today is Friday, and again, whenever you're listening to this podcast, it'll probably be a little bit later. But yeah, we had a powerful mastermind meetup last night. If you're interested in joining our mastermind, hit me up, info@billythekid.com. One-on-one coaching. Again, as of right now, I am offering it, but it's probably not going to be a for everything. And then later, prices do go up, guys. That's another thing that you guys need to consider. So if you're interested, if you want to have a cheat code to move up faster than the average, hit me up, info@billythekid.com. But otherwise, check out my music too on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, I'm there. And don't forget to grab a copy of my book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable, baby. It is out everywhere. If you haven't checked it out, you are missing out. And then I always get reminded to let you guys know that it is on Audible too. So check out the audio book as well. It is on Audible and everywhere else books are available. It's definitely different too, so check it out. But yeah, it's been great. We are looking for our next deal. So if anybody has anything out there, please let us know. We're looking for our next property to flip or our next rental. Also, any multifamily that you guys have, that's definitely somewhere where we want to look into more this year. So please hit us up. Let us know what you have. And if you do find something for us, we will give you a payment just for finding that property for us. So anything that comes up, please let us know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We've been really, guys, prepping, at least personally, we've been prepping for my daughter's quinceañera. We got... by the time this airs, it'll be closer to the quinceañera is coming up, and it's been nothing but craziness, like really. And those of you who don't know, a quinceañera is literally like planning a wedding. So it's been a lot of craziness, but it's all for the good. At the end, we're gonna have a massive celebration, party, family, friends, and just a celebration of life, really. So I can't wait. So yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing lately. We've been busy and just planning that, but Otherwise, I think that is all I got. And also, I do want to mention too, guys, don't forget, we also lend for real estate transactions. So if you're looking for the next deal that you want to do in real estate, please hit me up so that way we can take a look and give you some lending. But enough of that, guys. You guys are in the right place today if you're interested in learning how to house hack, if you're interested in learning syndication. It was such a powerful episode today. I can't wait for you guys to listen. And shout out to Yuri Alex, the investor out of Florida. He dropped some bombs, a lot of information, guys. Take notes because he literally set you up. We talked about a lot of great topics that a lot of uncomfortable conversations that you can only hear here in the $1 Million Hustle. So I think I am ready to dive in. With that being said, here is Yuri Alex, the investor, baby. Vámonos. Welcome to the $1 Million Hustle podcast, baby. It is your boy, Billy the Kid, a.k.a. BDK. Super excited today. If you're not following this man, you need to do so. Dropping bombs, dropping gems all over Instagram and in Spanish, too. So if you want to learn more, síganlo. But Yuri, how you doing, man?
Very good, Billy. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be in your podcast. I appreciate the invitation.
Awesome. Thank you. No, thank you. I truly appreciate your time, and I can't wait. We're going to talk some mindset, real estate, some just entrepreneurship and wisdom overall. So I can't wait to dig in. But before, for people that are listening that might not know who you are, if you could tell us a little bit about where you're from and where are you at now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yuri Gomez, real estate investor for about 8 years. I am a father. I am a husband. I have 2 little ones, 5 years old and 2 years old. I am originally from Colombia, South America. I moved to the States 24 years ago, lived in Miami for 20 years. So I have lived in Miami more than anywhere else, including my home country. And I've been for 4 years in Sarasota, Florida. We moved here because of real estate. And that's where we've been since 2018.
Wow. So you moved there because of real estate. So how was it growing up, Yuri? Because I'm Salvadorian. So I think we have a lot in common. On my book, I talk about just no running water, no electricity, literally growing up. So how was it growing up in Colombia?
So we were not brought up poor. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was a business owner. He did really well in the 90s, late 80s and 90s. But then when we moved to the States, of course, the way to move for us, the logical thing to do was to become an investor. So we opened up an investor visa, and he started opening up businesses. So he opened up a jewelry, and he started doing not good. So everything that he knew from being an entrepreneur in Colombia did not apply here. The rules of the game were different. The way you do business is just something completely different. And he also had the language barrier. His English is very limited. So then he opened up like a bracelets and necklaces shop. It didn't do well as well. So he basically failed. He did about 5 businesses. He ended up declaring bankruptcy. So we were doing really well in Colombia. And then when we got here, United States was really difficult for us, our first 10 years. And I grew up, I'm the oldest in our household. So I got that experience of, being very comfortable when I was a kid. And then here, everything was just more difficult. And then, I got my first job when I was 15 years old. And I was always helping out at the house. And then, I definitely learned a lot. But I always had that entrepreneur thing inside of me because it's in our blood. It's how my dad, everything he did was opening up businesses, and that always stuck with me. So I went to school here. I went to college. I did finance. Then I worked for a telecom company, a big one, for 11 years. But I always had it in me that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own business. And that always stuck until I transitioned into real estate.
Wow. That's crazy. So you pretty much had a good, so yours is almost like the opposite. Like the American dream wasn't the best at the beginning after leaving Colombia. That's crazy. What you mentioned that he did some businesses in Colombia. What were the businesses out there?
So he had like restaurants, and that would become like bars at night. That was a business that he started with. That was his first or his second business. Then he transitioned into the office supply business, which is where he kind of stuck for a while. And then we're basically like a mom and pop's office depot. That business did really well. And then he got into real estate. He started investing in like commercial real estate, offices, shops, where he owned the real estate with partners. And that's basically what he did. Towards the end, it was more real estate, less businesses, or at least the business was not being run by my dad. He has a partner, he still does, which is my first cousin. He's about 10 years older than me, and he's the one that, manages everything that my dad has. Started doing better the last 10 years. It's been doing really well. When we first moved here, everything was doing not well over there and not well over here. So it was definitely difficult times, but definitely learned a lot. So,
and that's what I was gonna ask you. So I couldn't help but think this question. I'm like, I need to ask this. Since your dad was an entrepreneur, what were some stuff that you learned along the way? Like if you had to put a list of 5 things or 10 things that come to your head right away that you learned from your dad, whether it was successful or even failure, what did you learn in that journey seeing your dad?
Oh, many things. But number one, humility. My dad is a very humble man. He treats his employees as if they were family. They're his equal, and that's how I've treated people here, and it helps a lot when you're dealing with contractors, when you're dealing with people that have difficult jobs. The problem, a lot of the problems here with investors is that they always feel that they're overpaying their employees, and the employees feel that they're underpaid. So you have that gap, and it's that disconnect makes jobs really hard. So that has really helped as far as humility. Number 2, to be a saver, to save money. He taught me that you should always live below what you can really afford. That way you leave some room for saving, and then you invest. So that's very powerful. That's something that I've been doing. I'm a house hacker, so my living expenses are minimal. As with house hackers, they usually live for free, or they pay very little. So that's what we do. We also have a vacation rental business that we manage on our own, and we have applied those principles of saving. We always leave really comfortable cash reserves on all of our projects, and we make sure that we're not gonna lose our sleep when times get tough, because times do get tough. Something will happen and does happen. So I guess those are the 2 main things. I could tell you like 100 things, but those are the 2 main things that have really stuck with me the most from my dad.
I love that. I love it, and definitely I relate to those 2. You said something does always happen, and I couldn't help but think. I posted this video on Instagram a couple months ago, however long, where with Biggie, and I listen to hip hop obviously, and I do some hip hop myself as an artist, but Biggie, more money, more problems, and I've always turned it around. It's like, no, it's more problems, more money, which means that we are problem solvers as entrepreneurs, and especially investors. I mean, there's always something happening, and I think that plays with even the uncomfortable, right? Like the power of being uncomfortable, like my book says, where it's like, if you're not ready to live your life like that, then I suggest staying on the couch, because there's going to be things that are going to come up. So I love that. So house hacking, how long have you been house hacking?
2019 is when we bought the duplex. It's a duplex. It's a 4-3 on one side, which is where we live. So it is comfortable. It's not like we live in a small apartment, because I do have little ones. And then next door is a 2-2. It's an 1,100 square foot 2-2, so it's also very comfortable. I have a tenant there. She's a nurse. Great tenant. She pays on time. She's never been late. and I even invite her over when we have like holidays. She's been to my house many times, and it's a little different when you're a house hacker as opposed to just being a landlord. That sometimes they don't even know who the owner is. It's a lot different. You think more. There's always more of a business mentality when you're a landlord at a place where they don't know who you are, and then you run it like a business, right? So if something happens, then this is what you do. So being a house hacker, it's completely different because you see that person every day. So there's a human and social component to it that you have to add. You cannot run it as a regular business because they will see you every day, and they can make your life very difficult. So it is easier if you are on great terms. And I treat her just like any other neighbor. Like if she wasn't my tenant, she's my neighbor, and that's exactly how I treat her, basically.
And that is I love that. That's the human component. I think it goes with humility, right? Like I love that you literally just spit some fire there. I am also understanding in your story that how important frugality is. And before we dive into frugality, I would like to know, how was the life? Where did you live before house hacking? Did you own your home then, or was it a bigger house, or what was the circumstances before house hacking?
So we lived, I'm going to go back to Miami just because before house hacking, we lived here in a house for 7 months, and we broke the lease. We just, we just paid the deposit just because, it was the right thing to do. It was on our contract because I was finding a place to live. But then going back to Miami, I lived my last 10 years in Miami, which were the 10 years of my adult life, pretty much. I lived in apartments. Miami is very expensive, so I always had roommates. I always had a roommate. We'll get a 2-bedroom, or I even lived in a 3-bedroom apartment where, as expensive as Miami is, it's a lot more affordable. I also never had, I've never owned a BMW or a Mercedes. Nothing against those cars. I'm not a car guy, first of all. So that's if I was a car guy, you have your vices, right? But I'm not a car guy. So for me, what gives me the most value, it's a new car that has a low payments, and that's like the ideal car. A new car that will not break and that is not expensive. So I've always lived below what I can afford. So in Miami, and still to this day, I don't have we don't have the cars that we love, or that we love to have, that we see around, and but they allow us to continue to save. So
I love that. Wow, that brings up another question that I'll ask you here in a bit. But so for people listening, frugality, I feel like so many people and they do things for the wrong reasons. They go buy stuff, like a new car just for others, right? When it's like, no, really follow your passion. Like with me, I'm a car guy, so it's like the cars that I own now that I'm gonna own in the future, that's for me, because at the end, nobody gives a crap, right? Like so I love that. What are some suggestions for maybe if you were talking to somebody out there who's not very frugal, and who maybe they're young and they just don't know where to go with that? What would be some advice that you would give them as far as frugality? Because I love what you're doing, man. That is that's literally the American dream. You're living the American dream, the freedom, right? So if you could give us some advice on that, what would it be?
yeah, absolutely. So number one, start cooking at home. Cook at home, and drink coffee at home. It's better for you to buy a very expensive, if you're a coffee guy like me, it's better to buy a very expensive espresso machine. It'll get paid off in 7 months, if you do the math with Starbucks. So maybe in less. So just, cook at home, and that way you don't spend money while you're out every day, because that's every day. You eat every day. So that's the main thing. Also, it goes back to the cars. You don't have to do that. If you're a car guy, you got to have a nice car, because you also have to take care of yourself. But if it's not a big deal, maybe not drive, $1,000 a month car, because that's going to prevent you from saving. I say it's better to collect things that will add cash flow to your life than take money away, especially in your younger years. So if you're definitely on your 20s, you're starting out and you really have like you're ambitious, then those are the things that I would do. I would just be really careful with my money, have a budget in place of what you're gonna spend, and think time flies like this. You're not gonna realize that you're gonna have in your bank account a very decent amount of money that you can start investing. You don't have to start investing in real estate right away, although there are ways to start in real estate with very little money from the beginning. But I'm not a fan of stocks, but you can buy ETFs. You can buy stocks that is not a specific company. Those are more safe. They're not as volatile. They just mirror the whole like S&P 500. So you can do that. Again, not a fan of stocks, but if I had $500 to invest, I would probably buy an ETF and just invest that and just watch it grow. And then as you go to another level, then you find other things to invest in. Just start having that mentality. You can start with $100 to invest, but you gotta start having that investing mentality, saving and investing, and that's gonna take you to the next level eventually. And time flies, so it'll happen before you even realize it.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely, I wrote those down, man. I love that. And the whole coffee thing, it's crazy. And so let me ask you this. When would you say is time for you to go to the other level of like, okay, I can afford where I could, like, where's your mindset on that?
So if I was in my 20s, something I never did, and I maybe I should have done, if I was in my 20s, I was starting. You don't have to be in your 20s. You could be in your 30s or your 40s. But if you don't have a lot of money and you want to start investing in real estate, I would probably start with an FHA loan. An FHA doesn't mean first time home buyers. With like a lot of people think it's for your first house. It is not. It is for the Federal Housing Administration that secures that loan. Insures it so that it's a low risk for the bank. You still go to your traditional bank, even if it's an FHA loan, and because it's insured by the government, you can just give a 3.5% down payment, which is very attractive for someone that's starting. If you buy $300,000 house or duplex, it's not a lot of money that you're spending on your down payment. So you can actually save for that. So I would say that's the last level. Just have goals. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I only have $1,000. What are the investments I can do with $1,000? But then eventually you're gonna get to 10,000, or you're gonna get to 20,000, and then at that point it's just gonna give you more options. So depending on what your goals are, but if your goal is to do an FHA loan and buy a $400,000 property, then you do the math. What's 3.5% of that? And then that's when you go to the next level.
I love that, and I love the thought of the snowball effect, right? Just like it snowballs when you're in debt or you're doing bad, it also snowballs the other way. So be mindful of that. I like that. Yo, we'll be right back to this great episode of the $1 Million Hustle podcast. Before we continue, I want you to go grab a copy of my book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable. It is out on Amazon. It is out on Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, Target.com, and everywhere else books are available. The great news, guys, is you could go to BillyTheKid.com and grab an autographed copy. That is right. I'm going to mail you an autographed copy right now. Audiobook is also available on Audible, and everywhere else audiobooks are available. So go listen to it. Go grab yourself an autographed copy, and I'll see you on the other side, baby. And now back to this great episode of the $1 Million Hustle podcast. I want to ask you this question because with investing in real estate, it's always like a question that you hear all the time. How many doors do you own right now?
576 for syndication. As far as an active general partner, 594 passive. So I started when I moved into the multifamily syndication, I started passively. So I invested in 594 doors. Then I transitioned into an active role, a general partner role. And then there I did 576 doors. And then with my wife, we own a fourplex and a duplex. So we own an additional 6 doors.
What is your thought Yuri, with the partnership. So far, what you've seen, obviously, those are great numbers. By the way, those of you who are listening, I mean that's massive. And I think I know the answer, but what are some stuff and that you could share with us as far as like partnering and kind of to leverage to that point, right? To have the 576 doors.
So partnering is what allowed me to scale faster. It's what allowed me to do bigger projects faster. I know a lot of people do not work well in teams. I would suggest you learn, because when you are getting into a $50 million deal, you cannot do everything yourself. It's impossible. Unless you have a really high net worth and then you're just going to hire employees, you could go down that route. I would say it's more difficult running a $50 million deal with employees, unless you get to that level where you are. But if you're starting, it's very difficult. So having a team in place allows you to do what you're good at over and over and over again. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we have to wear different hats. We have to be the sales guy. We have to be the accountant. We have to do everything. With a business model like syndication in multifamily, you're able to have very defined roles, and you pretty much have your own role. You do what you love, and you keep doing it because you're good at it. And that's the way you 10x your results, and you can continue to scale a lot faster. So having a team, in my opinion, is everything if you want to scale.
I love that. And so a couple questions off of that. What can we go back to the first deal that you syndicated? What were the numbers on that, and doors, etc.?
Yeah, it was a 78 unit deal, and we bought it for 8.5 million. The equity side was 3 million, so that's the amount of money that we had to raise. So that was my first deal. It was very exciting in Jacksonville, Florida, in a neighborhood called Arlington, and Class C, built in the 70s property. And what we liked about that deal, which is the reason why that was my first deal. So something that we wanted for it to happen, to get on a deal, was that the occupancy was high. We got on, I believe it was like 94% occupied. So that was very attractive for us because it was already stabilized. It was already cash flowing from day one. So that was important for us. My advice to everyone that's starting, it's don't get into the hardest part of if you're going to do a fix and flip, or if you're going to house hack and you don't have experience, don't get into the hardest parts of the job, into the hardest deals. So maybe I'll eventually get into a deal where, occupancy is very low, maybe 40%. Right now, I could tell you I'm not interested in those deals, but maybe I will in the future if I have the experience, and I'm willing to do that, because I'm willing to take on that additional risk because I have the experience, the net worth. I'm not going to lose my sleep. So going back to that first deal, we wanted for it to be stabilized, cash flowing from day one, and which we did, and it's worked great so far. And all of the other deals that I've done have been like that, have been stabilized, cash flowing from day one, and I am still going to continue doing those deals for a while, medium term at least.
What for that deal, and just in general, how are you finding these deals? What are the marketing that you're doing?
So when you get into the larger multifamily space, you're not dealing with I mean sometimes you can find a mom and pops, but it's not as common. These are sophisticated sellers, and sophisticated sellers usually don't like selling the property off market without a broker. So most of the deals transacted in the larger multifamily space are transacted through a broker, even if it's off market. So the seller takes the deal to the broker and tells them, hey, I want to sell this property. And then the broker, before listing it, already has a list of 100 investors that he's going to send the deal to. And a lot of times someone in that list is going to buy it. So it never goes on the market. So that's off market for us. Off market still goes through a broker. And having said that, working broker relationships, it's the most important step if you are going to be into the acquisitions part of a larger multifamily. So what do? You get on a plane. First you look at the market. You research what are the good markets to invest in. Then let's say you find 3 or 4 cities that you really like. You start contacting the brokers on those cities. And then if you ask them for a coffee or for a lunch, they're probably not going to pay attention to you. But if you ask them for a property tour, they will pay attention, because when they have a property that they're selling, property tours make them look good on their KPIs, because it means that the property, it's getting some
traction,
engagement or traction. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So so you do property tours because they will say yes to that. And maybe the property doesn't have good numbers. It doesn't matter. You're there to talk to that broker. And then you want to, basically, when it comes to brokers, you want to get on that list of investors that the first investor that the broker is going to contact and say, hey, I have this property available. Once the property goes to LoopNet, which is like the MLS for multifamily, they say that deals go to die in LoopNet, which is true for most of the times. Once it gets to LoopNet, it's already, the deal doesn't have good numbers. It's very expensive. So that's why working those broker relationships, it's very important.
Wow, that's awesome right there. That's some good info. And you said 3 million for the first one that you did. How did you raise that? Like, what were the steps to raise that kind of money?
So we raised it between like 6-7 of us. We raised that 3 million. So what I do, it's I like talking about my journey. My wife and I, we're very happy with everything that has happened through us in real estate, and we like sharing that with others. So just by sharing our journey, everything that we've done, we've had people come to us, hey, I really like what you guys are doing. We would love to, possibly partner up on doing a joint venture or something to that regard. So at the beginning, I wasn't paying attention to that. I was just focused on doing my own deals. But after I got to like, I don't know, less than 10 people, more than 5, I was like, I need to pay attention to that. There's all these people that want to do deals with me. And maybe that we could do deals with them, and maybe we could do bigger deals, Instead of doing a $1-2 million property, maybe we could do a $10 million property, which is exactly what happened. This deal was 8.5 million, $3 million raise. And so I started inviting friends and family. And that's how I started. Then I started getting really active on social media. And right now, like 90% of my investors are referrals from someone that either knows me, like and trusts me, or somebody that has me on social media that gave my info to somebody else. So I'm getting those type of referrals, and they have transformed into investors after a few months. So that's kind of how we are doing it now. I do want to scale that. I'm now working on an email automation platform, and to have more of an investor community. So I have a lot of plans for 2023. But basically, I just started with social media and just friends and family.
And so how many deals is the Doors total right now? How many syndications is that you formed?
So I did 2 as an LP, but talking just about the general partnership, being part of the people that run the deal, the operators, I've been on 3 deals, 78 units, 116 units, 382 units. That 382 units was massive. We bought it for 58 million. It was a 20 million raise. So yeah, that was something else.
Wow. And it's crazy because it like literally snowballed, right? Like it went up. I like that. So syndications, you mentioned LP. For people that are listening up, can you give us a little information on just how syndications work and how they are formed and how much money they cost?
Absolutely. So basically, a syndication, it's basically a group of people decide we're gonna do something together. We're gonna pool our resources. Sometimes the resources are experience, know-how, money, and then there's other things, like you have key principals that they are part of the deal just because they have a high net worth, so the bank will be comfortable lending us the money if they're on the loan. So there's many different roles. There's two main groups in a syndication: the GPs and the LPs. The GPs are the general partners. They are the ones that run the deal. They find the property, they negotiate it, they put it under contract, they find a loan with a bank, they close, and then they operate it, usually for 4, 5, 6 years, and then they sell it. So the investor gets returns on cash flow, and they get returns on the capital gains at the end on the sale, on the appreciation. Then you have the other group. So I talked about general partners, which are the ones that do everything, that run the deal. Then you have the limited partners. Those are the investors. Those are passive investors. All they do is put money. Usually the minimum in these projects is 50 to 75,000. Usually minimum goes around there. And then they own a piece of the property. So this is not like a fund where you own shares, or you're an actual direct owner of that property. So that means is you also get the depreciation benefits when you do your taxes. So because you own a property, you're part owner of that 382 unit property, for example. So those are what LPs are. LPs have no legal risk. They don't have legal liability, meaning they cannot be sued. The passive investors cannot be sued. The legal responsibility or liability goes towards the general partners. And the only risk is financial risk on the limited partners. So they're basically, and it's limited because it's only up to their investment. They cannot get sued. They cannot come after their assets. So the risk, the maximum of the risk is their investment. But of course, we're talking about real estate. So real estate usually just goes up in value. On bad years, multifamily usually just stays flat, goes down a little bit, not a lot, and then it keeps going up again. So these are considered lower risk investments compared to like stocks or crypto, where you can actually lose everything. So,
and that's been something that's been happening lately with crypto and all that. So yeah, I love that. And so going forward, what are you looking going forward with what you got coming, especially which I'll save this question about the market later, but just overall, what are your goals for this year?
So my goal for this year is to continue to grow and scale my investor flow, continue to grow my social media, just to continue to reach out to more people, and at the same time paying it forward. I have a lot of content on just free advice and things that I do, that I encounter. Very open on social media about everything that's going on, and I talk about different topics: house hacking, vacation rentals, and of course syndication. So for this year, my goal is to grow my investors. I had 15 investors last year, so 15. My goal is to triple that this year, to have about 45 investors, a little bit under 50 investors this year, and grow my social media so I can get to more people, so they can see my content, they can see all of the stuff that I'm doing, and in that way pay it forward. I had a mentor when I first started. It was a friend of mine that worked on my W-2 job that became very successful in real estate. And when I did my fourplex, I asked him, hey, I want to pay you back somehow. I feel like I owe you a ton of money because you gave me a lot of knowledge. And all he said was, you don't owe me anything, just pay it forward. So I try to do that through Instagram, just by posting videos. I'm also on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, and just post a lot of videos about what I do, so that people can learn and then take action one day, hopefully.
So you mentioned social media. When was like the first time that you did a video or wherever to get yourself out there? How was that?
It was in 2021. It was scary, man. It was very scary. I was not comfortable in front of a camera. I probably did that video. Maybe I tried 40 times, and it was just a 1 minute reel. And I was just not comfortable. I was studying a lot, but it's like everything, you get better. So just do it. Just do it. Consistency. I think well, not that I think. I've read this a lot and I agree on it. Consistency beats perfection every time. If you're consistent, you will improve as you go. You get better. And that's what I did. I wasn't good at it. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't even, comfortable doing it, but I did it anyways. And it just got a lot better. Yesterday, I went to a podcast studio at a co-working place, and I recorded 13 videos in an hour and a half. So, that you start getting better and it just flows.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. And I love the approach that you're actually taking more action beyond just cell phone, which there's nothing wrong with cell phones, by the way. Anybody out there listening, that's probably the best tool. Even there's so many gaps that we don't think about that we have where we can throw a video out there. Like, for example, with me in the morning after I run, that's where you got endorphins going crazy and all that. I posted one today, actually, in my running clothes, sweating, whatever, but you're speaking how you feel. And also there's other times where I'm picking up my kids, and if I'm sitting there waiting, hey, put on the camera, right? Like, you're pumping gas, throw on the camera. Like, there's so many, so there's no excuses. But I love that you took it to the next level, which now you're actually going to a studio to record reels. So that's awesome. What are some of the stuff, if you don't mind sharing, what were some of the gems that you recorded yesterday?
So I spoke about house hacking. I spoke about vacation rentals. I just try to keep it like about everything, because yes, I am getting leads from Instagram. I am getting investors, but that was not the main purpose of it. It was definitely not the purpose when I started. And my purpose is to teach people and just mitigate that fear with education to take action, So they're all very educated. I spoke about lending, about what are the lending things that they should do right now. I spoke about creative finance, about how we're going from a seller's market into a buyer's market. So I just find a topic. I don't even prepare. I don't have a script. I just think about a topic and I just go. I put the camera in front, I hit play, and I just start talking. The reason why I don't need to script it or prepare it is because I am talking about my personal experience. So it just, the information just flows. Is people don't want to hear a robot reading something that they found in Google. They want to know about me, about my experience. So I just share everything that I have to share based on the things that I've done. So it just comes easy to me. And I just think about a topic and I just go and I just run with it for a minute. So
yeah, I like that. Love it. And you mentioned earlier you're happy and your marriage is happy. And there's a few questions I have with that. The first question that came to my head was, what is happiness?
Oh, that's happiness is my wife. It's my kids. It's not being bored. It's being motivated. It's waking up and just wanting to go out there and kill it, just do really good. Serving, if you believe it or not, when you serve others, when you give back, like when some people schedule calls with me, like Zoom calls, I don't charge them anything for that first call anyways. They'll schedule a call. I had a call with a guy that is very new in real estate and wants to learn. We were on that call for 2 hours and we just spoke for 2 hours. I like the guy. And every time I'm done with those free Zoom calls, I feel, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel fulfilled, So when you serve, it gives you happiness because you're paying it forward, just like somebody did it with you when you started. So happiness is all those things. It's spending time with my kids, spending time with my wife, being motivated, just waking up and just having a motivation, and serving others. And definitely the opposite of those things is being bored. That's that's not good.
Seriously, and being bored, I mean, that I feel like people that have no purpose, right, are the ones that fall in that category, unfortunately. So it's always I love that, and I could feel the energy as you were speaking about that, man. So you could tell you're definitely passionate and in everything that you're doing. And so with that being said, what are some tips you would give people out there listening, just for a happy marriage overall, since you did mention that?
So for a happy marriage, so I guarantee you, just like in real estate, something will always go wrong. In a marriage, it will be difficult. It will be, trust me. And when you start having kids and it changes the whole dynamics of being married, it's just a lot of new stuff gets thrown there, and it's just things that you were not prepared for, because nobody's prepared for being a parent. So being a marriage is really hard. Just remember, like, this is my advice. Remember why you chose that person and why that person chose you in the beginning, and just stick through it, because it will be hard. You will be very upset some days with someone for a few days. Just stick with it, because it will get better. It is just part of learning, of growing together. And then you're going to get to a place where things are going to be great, and you're so in sync that whatever life throws at you, you'll be okay, because you already went through that. You already grew, and you're both better because of everything that you've experienced together. So my advice, just stick with it. Things will get hard. Stick with it. And when things are really hard, just go back and remember why you chose that person. And then that's it. Things will get better. She or he will become again the person that you loved when you first met her or him. So that's it.
Powerful message right there. And I think it's important that people forget that we're just growing, man. We're just human, right? Like, and every day you should be a different person from the day before. And I feel like that's also with marriage, with any relationships in general. I think and I think it's important too, because if not, there's that gap, right? Like if the other person's not growing. So I love that, man. That's huge right there. And I couldn't help also but ask you this question. So happiness, right? But then how do you feel that money has, what does money have to do with happiness? What's your thoughts on that?
I do think that, so here's what I think about money and happiness. They say that money does not buy happiness. And it could be true, but money does buy a lot of things that will make you happy. So money just will, like, for example, in my case, money gives me more time, so having cash flows from my properties allows me to not have to work on a W-2 job every day, 10 hours a day, like I used to. So it gives me freedom to be with my family, to run my business at my own time, and maybe not as many hours as I used to work when I was in this telecom company. So it is giving me happiness because I have those things, If you like to travel and you have money to travel, then money is buying happiness because it's allowing you to travel. So money will help you. Money can also corrupt you. So I heard somebody said, I don't know who this was, but it says that money will just accelerate what you already are. So if you're an evil person and you have money, you're going to become an even more evil person. If you're a good person and you make money, you're going to become an even better person. So in my case, I just try to be the best person I can be, and making sure I stay humble and making sure I continue to help others. And that in itself just gives me enough fulfillment or happiness,
Wow, that's very powerful, and it makes me, let me see if I could find it, because it makes me think of this this thing that I posted that has to do with being humble and all that, but basically it read along the lines of, like, if it's fast success, it breeds ego, and if it's slow success, then it's character. That's what it was, and I agree with what you just said. Like literally, it just made me think of that. I was trying to find it, but it just popped in my head. So,
That's
what
awesome.
is one way, Yuri, that which there's many in your story, but what is one way that, and I wrote The Power of Being Uncomfortable is a book that I released actually not even it's been a year now. And there's many different ways that I hear in your story throughout, but what is one way that you would say that paid after you got uncomfortable?
So going back to my duplex, being a house hacker, duplexes are usually not in the nicest neighborhoods, and that actually applied to us. We actually moved to a neighborhood that was not the nicest, especially not in 2019. It's gotten a lot better, but it was definitely not the nicest in 2019. The week that we moved here, we saw a police car, with the lights on, escorting someone from a house, basically arresting someone, and we're like, what do we do? Where do we move? So we were uncomfortable. We moved in a neighborhood that with little ones, with little kids, that we were not sure if it was the right decision. But we said, let's just stay here. We did look we went back to the police station and we looked at reports of if there's ever been like gunshots or things that were very concerning, because we're not going to put our family in danger. We didn't find anything like that. So let's just stay here. Let's just stay here for a few more months or the next year. And then we decide what we're going to do. We've been here for this year is going to be 4 years. Neighborhood's gotten a lot better. Something that happened to us is the landlords started moving to our neighborhood. So the actual owners of the other duplexes, because they sold duplexes in my block, the landlords are moving in, which is great. So houses are getting nicer. They're getting painted. Landscape is getting better. And it's just improving. We did get lucky because, we didn't know that was going to happen. But we were uncomfortable. We stuck to it. And now we live in a great place that, we're pretty much mortgage free. What we pay, it's our taxes and insurance. And that's because we refinanced to a 15-year loan. If we would have stayed on a 30-year loan, we would be living for free. So it definitely paid off. I have many other examples, but this was one that resonated. Head. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, no, and like I said, there's many in your journey, so I love that.
We'll be right back. Before we continue, go subscribe to Billy the Kid YouTube. That is Billy, DHAKID. Also, go follow Billy the Kid Music on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, and everywhere else music is available. And now, back to this great episode. Let's go.
Hopping out the 2-0, we're number 2-4. Feel like Kobe, though I'm winning, need to do more. My mama sorry, college wasn't for me. Street smart, no degree, just like Kobe. Self-made boss with a suit like a mogul. I'm the new era, you see it on my logo.
And what's your thoughts, Yuri, on just relationships overall? And I'm referring more to like maybe negative relationships in the past, or whether they were friends or even just partners, like however, how have you leveraged that to your advantage, or just overall, where do you ignore it? Like, what do you do with those relationships?
So I've only started working on my relationships, I'm going to say the last maybe 10 years. Before that, if somebody was cool and we had stuff in common, that's it. They were my friend. Now I really choose, I really analyze better who I'm spending my time with. Something that I've learned along the way is that humans are like the chameleon. We start acting the way the people around us are acting. We start the same mannerisms, the same language. If they're smart, then we become smart. It just happens. If they're not smart, if they're troublemakers, if they're doing stuff, and we hang out with them, then we're probably gonna do the same things as well. So in my early 20s, I didn't really pay attention to that. I haven't never been a bad kid, but I did go out a lot and partied, and nothing wrong with that. But that prevented me from getting to my goals, because I had these goals when I was in my 20s, and I couldn't get to those goals in my 20s because of that. So in my 30s, I started kind of being more aware of who I was spending my time with, and that really helped. They say you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So I am really taking that, and I'm working really hard at always increasing that 5 people that are in my immediate group. That way I can grow with them and definitely not being the smartest guy in the room. It's something that I always strive for, just hanging out with people that are way more successful than me. I am part of a mastermind, so that has helped me. People that are way more successful than me, just learning a lot from them, and I'm sure that's gonna pay off.
And man, that's a powerful message right there. Definitely, I agree with every single word that you just mentioned there. You mentioned a mastermind right now, and then you also mentioned a mentor earlier. What's up with that? Because I run my own mastermind. It's the Get Uncomfortable Mastermind. We meet every Thursday, and even just every meetup that we have, like even the one from last night, seeing the guys send messages or posting about it and just saying how their Fridays have been super, like they're powered up after the meetup from the night before and just for the week. So it's crazy what it does. Like, I don't think, if you've never experienced it, it's hard to explain, right? With the mastermind. So, and then I also do one-on-one coaching. And so with that being said, you drilled it throughout how important it is. Can you give us a little more on just mentoring and just education overall, surrounding yourself with people that, and you know what, you might have to pay, which I think, why is it okay to pay for college and you never use the the certification, right? I think it's the same concept, and it's never ending. I believe it's never ending. For the rest of your life, you should be doing that. But what's your thoughts on that?
So before I answer the question, just going back to the paying for the education. For some people, it's okay to spend $50,000 on a car, but they wouldn't spend $10,000 on education, or even $5,000, even a tenth of what they would spend on a car. So, just putting that in perspective. So if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago, I would tell you, this was my answer from 2 years ago would be, information is out there for everyone. You have Google, you have YouTube, which are, by the way, those are great resources. I oftentimes ask a question to Google. I find myself doing that every day before I even ask somebody else that's an expert in that field. So, and a lot of times I get my answer from Google. YouTube, great resource. You can see everything on video, and then you get the know-how that way. But it can only get you so far. I had a mentor when I first started that allowed me to buy my first fourplex, multifamily fourplex. I wouldn't have done it without a mentor. But one of the things that, one of the challenges that I had is he wasn't charging me. He was a friend from my W-2. We became really good friends. He wasn't charging me, so his time was limited. Of course, he's not going to get on the phone with me every day for 2 hours to help me start a business. So I took the time that he gave me, which he was very abundant. He still does have an abundance mindset, and he likes helping out, but he's a very busy guy. So that was the challenge. So today I prefer to pay somebody for education because I know I'm going to have access to them when I need it. And I mean, both ways are fine. If you're able to get a mentor for free, that's totally fine. They're just not going to have the same time. And just having a mentor, whether it's a paid or unpaid, it's going to catapult you to another level way faster. I wouldn't have done the 5 syndication deals that I've done in the last year and a half if it wasn't for coaching and mentorship. I would not have done that. So when you look at the grand scale of things, I spent a lot of money in mentorship, but when you look at everything that I've done, then it becomes a very little expense. So it's definitely worth it. I strongly recommend it. I mentioned earlier, I do like a 1 hour free Zoom call. I'm going to continue doing that for as long as I can. I do want to serve and help people out, but just to give people more options, I came out with one-on-one sessions, and they are paid. And I started doing that a few months ago just because I want to be able to give people more options. Not everybody needs it. You don't need to do it, but I do think that having a mentor, it's important. Definitely get one, whether it's paid or unpaid. If you don't want to pay, just find one that doesn't charge you, but definitely get a mentor. It's going to take you everywhere just a lot faster.
Fire. Love it. And I could sit here and talk to you all day, Yuri, but obviously You got syndications to go out there and take care of. So I'm gonna ask you on the last segment of our show, and the whole point of this, guys, is just the uncomfortable conversations, right? Like that's the whole point of this. It's the $1 million hustle. Like, what are you doing to get your hustle on for that million, right? And beyond. And so the first question that I have for you, because the $1 million hustle is basically going to be compacted in like habits, you should say, of what are some of the habits that got you to where you're at to become a millionaire or whatever, right? And so the first question that I have for you is, what are 3 habits or 3 things that if somebody were to ask you, hey, how do you become successful? And you tell them these 3 things, and no matter what, if you do these 3 things, you're not going to fail. You're going to be on your $1 million hustle. What are the 3 things?
So for me, it's wake up early, because that encompasses a whole lot of other things, you know, like working out, meditating, reading, spending time with your family. So definitely, you know, waking up early, it's going to help you, you know, that's something that for me, it's non-negotiable. Number 2, I'm going to say, take action, whether you're comfortable or uncomfortable. Just take action. If you make a mistake, you will learn from it. So just do it. Just do it. Just take action, no matter what. You know, if you want to buy a property, how many offers have you submitted in the past couple of weeks? You know, so just do it. Just do it, and things will, you know, you'll learn, you'll get better, you'll do better. So just take action. And number 3, it's always continue to educate yourself, whether it's free, whether it's paid, whether you call somebody, whether somebody, you bought a coaching session, whether it's on YouTube, just reading a book, just continue to educate yourself, and it will change you significantly, like it has done for me. So if you do those 3 things, you're gonna see in 6 months, maybe less, a lot less, you're gonna start seeing a lot of immediate success in your body, everywhere around your life, in your relationships with people, in your business. So those are the 3 main things.
Fire. And the next question that I have, Yuri, is if you were to give advice to your younger self, what would be that advice you would tell yourself?
To choose who you are building long-term relationships with, you know, make sure that that's I think that's the main thing. When you're in your 20s, if you can surround yourself with successful people, that's going to change your mentality. You know, your mindset is going to be different. So I think that's the biggest advice. Just choose, to my younger self, choose who you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, love it. Proximity is key, guys. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, proximity is key. Surround yourself with great people. You're going to be a great person as well. And the last question that I have, Yuri, is if you were to write a book, what would be the theme/title?
That's a really hard question. I haven't decided what I'm gonna, if I ever write a book. It will probably be, because I don't want to make it about, you know, you can find a book on multifamily, on how to analyze deals, on, you know, how to raise capital. You can find that anywhere. So I'll just be another guy doing it. So I will do something different. Maybe I will write a book on how to invest passively in the United States while living in another country, because most of my investors are doing that. So I would probably write a book about that.
Wow, I like that. I'm ready to read it. So
Awesome.
Are you considering like moving somewhere? Is that kind of why, or like in the future, where would be your like dream place to live at?
No, we're not considering moving. I think we live in paradise. Sarasota, Florida is beautiful. It's just something that we got here by mistake, because we bought the property in St. Pete, which is 45 minutes away. We love where we live. We don't see leaving anytime soon. I think we will stay here. But having said that, the way my business just developed, most of my investors, I do my content in Spanish. I'm Colombian. I have a huge family. I have 100 first cousins, if you can believe that. So because my family is so big, my first investors were in South America. So I would just write a book to continue to help other people to do that, to know that you can invest passively while you're in a different country. Now, to answer your question, if I would ever move somewhere, I would probably move back to Colombia, but I would probably move like a few months there and then a few months back in Florida. That's probably what I would do. I would like to go to Europe someday for long term, maybe like 2-3 months. I'll probably do that someday too, with my wife and kids. So who knows?
Love it. And it's funny because I'm in Nebraska. I'm literally in the middle of the map. So it's funny because Florida has become something special for me and my family. So you never know. Maybe I'll hit you up and see if I buy my winter getaway home out there with you, through you or something.
Awesome. So I live in Sarasota. So our vacation rental is in St. Pete, Florida. You're invited. So it's on camera. There's probably going to be hundreds or thousands of witnesses. So you're invited to stay at our vacation rental whenever you want in St. Pete. And then, you can check out the area. Hopefully
Awesome.
to one day move here.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. We'll definitely look into that because Florida is really nice, man. Like I see why you answered it that way. Hey, I'm already here, so love it. Well, Yuri, if you could let everybody listening know where can they find you? What's your website? What's your ads? Go ahead.
Okay, so if you're for the people that are listening, my Instagram, it's Yuri Alex Investor. I'm gonna spell that. It's YURI ALEX INVESTOR, Yuri Alex Investor. For those that are watching, they can see I have there my @Yuri Alex Investor on the camera. I'm on with that same tag. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. You can find me there. My website, it's golandscapital.com, GOLANDS capital.com. There they can they can join into my investor portal, join my newsletter, and start learning more about investing passively in multifamily.
Boom. Love it. Well, once again, Yuri, I want to thank you. This has been amazing, man. I got notes and I'm ready to listen to it myself. So those of you who are listening, make sure you guys screenshot it, take a picture, do whatever you got to do, and tag me and Yuri. We're going to reshare it so that way you get followers, we get followers, and we're happily ever after. With that being said, I'll see you in the next episode. Vámonos.
And some don't like that. They hate that they see you smile. As if I haven't been hustling, it's been a while. Gotta put in the work if you wanna shine. I want it all and I'm coming for what's mine. Some call me greedy, bitch, I call it ambition. Some call me selfish, bitch, I call it motivation. Different levels of thinking and we both right. But my mindset is on growth with the future bright. Close-minded people mad at me that I'm speaking facts. Or maybe could it be that I'm getting racks? Open your mind, gotta open it to receive. I'm always 10 toes for what I believe. Close-minded people mad at me that I'm speaking facts.